Hey friend, there's been some controversy about weapon tier lists yet again, so I decided to do the community a solid favor and break it down for y'all with none of the nonsense and weaselly waffling you find from other inferior creators. My list is a bit different from other people's because I think about this game from a different perspective. Because I don't see any separation between the PvP and the PvE, instead viewing it as a fluid interchanging of PvPvE, like stepping into a river and feeling the flow of all things becoming one, as taught by the great master of hidden truth Ibn Arabi, who shows us with his piercing insight that there is only the one absolute being, and that we are all but glistening dewdrops suspended upon a single blade of grass in the breath of morning, and the shadows cast thereby, that we are the blade and the shadow and the dewdrop and the dwindling light of dying stars. Which is why I'll be recommending weapons based on the standard build types, rather than ranking them according to some arbitrary set of standards you wouldn't agree with anyhow. The first category of builds is the strength build, classic big bonk Chad style. There's a lot of different weapons that are all really good, but the one I want to recommend to you is the Heavy Infusion Zweihänder with Storm Stomp as the Ash of War. This is a slightly unpopular recommendation, of course. Not everyone will agree, but this weapon packs a wallop against both players and most AI enemies. And when those enemies, such as a lot of large bosses, are unaffected by the L2, you still have enough versatility and damage to get the job done with no fuss. Furthermore, because you have Storm Stomp and a fast, high-damage piercing R2, you can stun and kill a lot of average to above-average invaders or cooperators, even at base strength for a vagabond, even with less than skillful play. And you can grab it at the beginning of the game. Seriously, you can get this beast as soon as you kill your first boss or gather a few runes. The second class of builds is Dexterity. There's a lot of really nasty weapons that Dex builds have access to, but believe it or not, and I'm totally serious here, the best weapon a Dex build can come out of the gate with is a Keen Infusion Zweihänder with Storm Stomp as the Ash of War. Again. Despite being seen as a traditional strength weapon, when the Zweihänder is Keen infused, it gets an astonishing amount of AR and retains a tremendous moveset. The Storm Stomp Ash and ridiculously powerful follow-up R2 more than make up for any loss of two-handed AR by not simply building a strength character. A less common but still viable build is Faith, which is even more viable when supplemented by some investment in other stats. Notably, a few points into strength. For the cost of only 2 stat points into strength, a profit-based character is able to wield my recommended weapon for Faith, a standard infusion Zweihänder with the Storm Stomp Ash of War. It can't be overstated how good this weapon and Ash combo is for a Faith build. Never mind the fact that you lose a bit of damage due to poor scaling, the reality is that having access to Storm Stomp with a concomitant R2 is worth every bit of the damage you lose. Now, I've heard people say that a few challenge run players use something called an intelligence build, and while I'm sure there are a few people playing such a build here and there, we can't cover every possible gimmick build in the game, or we'd be here forever. Which brings us to the final build style, Arcane. Arcane is a difficult stat to build around. Most of what I see Arcane doing is occult infusion on bleed weapons, which, although effective in many PvE encounters, really struggles with PvP. Basically, in my experience, if an Arcane build can do something, chances are that a strength build can do it better. However, since the DLC dropped, I've also seen the rise of Arcane strength builds that use the ancient meteoric ore greatsword, or Among Us. This weapon is said to be fashioned from the head of a colossal arrow which was used by a god. It has the benefit of the Zweihänder moveset, but it is also heavier, has shockingly higher strength requirements, can't be greased, and doesn't have access to Storm Stomp. These drawbacks are significant enough that I cannot recommend such a weapon, and instead suggest you use a heavy infused Zweihänder with the Storm Stomp Ash of War. This is a slightly unpopular recommendation, of course. Not everyone will agree, but this weapon packs a wallop against both players and most AI enemies. And when those enemies, such as a lot of large bosses, are unaffected by the L2, you still have enough versatility and damage to get the job done with no fuss. Furthermore, because you have Storm Stomp and a fast, high damage piercing R2, you can stun and kill a lot of average to above average invaders or cooperators, even at base strength for a Vagabond, even with less than skillful play, and you can grab it at the beginning of the game. Seriously, you can get this beast as soon as you kill your first boss or gather a few runes. Thanks for taking the time to watch my very sincere and important weapon analysis video. If you like this sort of content, and you'd like to see more, you can always check out some other fucking channel where they endure making this slop for them sweet, sweet clicks. Tune in next time when I accidentally let my folksy facade fall away from my serenely murderous face while I go on another unhinged boomer tirade over reused footage. Good luck out there, fella Red.